Have you ever just stopped and thought about the sheer influence one person can have today, especially in, politics?
It's pretty staggering when you think about it.
Yeah, and not just business influence. I mean, direct political clout. We're seeing something that feels, well, it feels like a huge shift, like a real game changer.
And seismic shift.
Exactly, like how some people just completely disrupt whole industries.
Yeah.
And the big question we're diving into today is what actually happens when a tech giant, someone known for, shaking things up, decides to jump into politics, not just dip a toe in, but maybe dive head first.
And that's precisely the fascinating territory we're exploring in this deep dive. The core topic today is Elon Musk. Specifically, these reports, which seem increasingly serious about him potentially forming a whole new political party.
A whole new party, wow.
Yeah, and we're going to really dig into the reasons behind this this pretty significant development, especially looking at his relationship with former President Trump, which seems to have, well, evolved quite a bit. Fractured, maybe. Our goal here is really to pull out the most important bits of information, the key insights from the sources we've looked at. We want to help you, our listener, get the full picture, understand the context, think about the potential fallout, and really see why this story actually matters in the grand scheme of things.
And it really does demand attention, doesn't it? Because, like you said, it's not just about one guy, however influential he is.
Right.
This whole thing sits right at this this critical crossroads. You've got technology, you've got media, especially social media, and you've got raw political power, all converging.
It's a potent mix.
It really is. And what does that actually mean for you, for all of us trying to stay informed? How does it change things when these forces come together like this?
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's see what's really going on. So usually when you hear Elon Musk, you think Tesla, right? Sleek electric cars.
Or SpaceX, rockets heading to orbit.
Exactly, pushing boundaries, and of course more recently buying Twitter and turning it into X. That whole saga, definitely a tech titan. Visionary, controversial sometimes, but undeniably a huge force in innovation.
For sure. But what's become really clear, especially lately, is that his influence isn't just staying in Silicon Valley or, his factories. He's been getting more and more involved in political debates. Very public.
Very overtly.
Yeah. And his footprint is just spreading out into the political arena itself. It feels unusual. You don't often see a tech billionaire wielding this kind of direct, personal political influence.
And quite different from the traditional ways.
Totally. I mean, historically, wealthy people interested in politics might, donate big money behind the scenes, fund think tanks, maybe lobby quietly.
Right, operate more in the shadows, perhaps.
But Musk, he's right out there, front and center, talking directly to millions, often on his own platform.
That's a key difference.
It is. It's not just about the money anymore. It's this unique mix of business smarts forged in these really disruptive environments, combined with this massive personal profile.
Yeah.
So the big question for us is, can those same strategies that built Tesla and SpaceX, can they actually translate into building a viable political movement? Can they get sustained voter support?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. It's like a live experiment we're all watching.
And what's really fascinating here, as you said, is how Musk's path sort of highlights this broader trend we're seeing globally. These influential, non-traditional figures stepping into politics.
The celebrities, business leaders.
Exactly. We've seen others, but Musk feels like an extreme case, maybe the ultimate example right now. Because he has this unique combination, the global tech impact, the immense personal wealth, and crucially, those direct communication channels, he can bypass traditional media entirely.
Which is huge.
It's massive, and it makes you wonder, is political power itself shifting? Is it moving away from, the established parties, the legislatures, the big news outlets?
The institutions we're used to.
Right. And moving towards individuals who have these huge platforms and tons of money. Think about it. One person controlling a platform like X, which is like a digital town square for millions.
Hundreds of millions globally.
Yeah. He has this instant, unfiltered line to huge numbers of people. He can push out messages without any editor, any gatekeeper. He can talk directly to people in real time.
That level of immediate personal influence,
Yeah.
it's unprecedented. Even the wealthiest political players of the past couldn't do that.
Not like this. So it really makes you, the listener, think, how is this new kind of digital influence fundamentally different from, say, powerful newspaper barons of the past or wealthy donors? Is it just faster and wider reach?
Or is it something deeper,
Yeah,
changing
no.
how political stories are even made and believed?
Exactly. Is it fundamentally changing the structure of how we do politics?
Okay, so to really get this reported split between Musk and Trump, we need to remember that not so long ago, they actually seemed, well, kind of aligned on some
There's
threads.
definitely some overlap, yeah.
They seem to find common ground on, like, free speech, a pretty strong belief in it.
Almost absolutist, some might say.
Right. And they both seem skeptical of government regulations, sometimes quite critical of it.
And the mainstream media, too. Both often criticized established media outlets.
Definitely. It wasn't like a formal alliance,
Yeah.
but you could see this sort of ideological connection in their public statements, their social media stuff.
You could see the shared ground, maybe an anti-establishment vibe.
Yeah, maybe that was it. A shared feeling that the system, both political parties and the media, was maybe broken or biased.
A belief in just letting people talk, even if it gets messy.
Could be. Think about Musk always talking about the digital public square, and Trump's very direct style, often bypassing news outlets. There were parallels.
For a while, it looked like two powerful outsiders kind of disrupting things together.
But even with that past alignment, sources close to both of them have been saying for months now that things were getting tense. Quietly at first, but building.
Beneath the surface?
Exactly. And what might have been small disagreements have apparently grown into a pretty major ideological shift. It looks like that perceived camaraderie is, well, unraveling.
Indeed. And the specific issues, the flashpoints that led to this reported break, they're really revealing about where their thinking differs now.
Okay, what?
Well, one of the biggest seems to be around social media, how it should be run, and maybe more broadly, how Trump is handling the direction of the Republican Party.
Oh, okay.
According to several reports, Musk has openly criticized Trump for pushing narratives that Musk sees as either outdated or maybe divisive, counterproductive perhaps.
And how does that connect to Musk owning X?
Directly. Since buying X, Musk has very publicly positioned himself as this champion of free expression.
Right.
He wants it to be a place for almost totally unfiltered speech, even if it's controversial.
Yeah, that's been his whole thing.
So when Trump talks about potentially bringing back tighter online regulations if he gets back into power, well, you can see the clash.
That's a direct conflict with Musk's vision for X.
Absolutely. For Musk, who's poured billions into X and staked his reputation on this idea of a free speech platform, any talk of more government control, more regulation online, that's like an existential threat to his whole project.
It goes beyond just disagreeing on policy then.
It feels like a fundamental ideological clash about how information should flow in the digital age, free and open versus potentially regulated. And this raises a really interesting question for us and for you listening. How much of this split is really about deep ideology, like a genuine disagreement on core principles, and how much is maybe more about, well, a power struggle?
Like a struggle for influence.
Yeah.
Who gets to control the narrative?
Exactly. Are they competing for the same anti-establishment audience? Or the perception of leadership in that space? It's probably a mix, but figuring out that balance is key to understanding what the split really means long term.
Okay, so with this split happening, it leads us to maybe the even bigger news. Musk reportedly thinking seriously about starting his own political party.
The party of reason.
Right, that's the term he's apparently used. And, you know, it's not totally out of the blue. He's hinted at this kind of thing before.
He has. A few years ago, he talked about supporting centrist or alternative movements.
So there's a pattern there. A kind of long-standing frustration with the existing two parties, maybe. A desire for something different.
Seems like it. It suggests this isn't just a sudden reaction, but maybe something he's been considering for a while.
But what would a party of reason actually mean? What would it stand for? Is it just about rejecting the polarization we see everywhere?
That seems part of it. A rejection of extreme partisanship.
Or maybe focusing more on, like, data-driven policy, using evidence, science, engineering principles to make decisions instead of just ideology or emotion.
That would certainly align with his background, engineering, tech, complex problem solving.
So how would it actually be different from the Democrats or Republicans? They've got their platforms, their voters.
That's the challenge. The name itself, Party of Reason, implies logic, rationality, maybe a scientific approach to governing.
Which sounds appealing in theory.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, right? In today's political world, which is often so emotional, so tribal, what does a party of reason mean to you, the listener? What policies would you expect? Would it even work?
And historically, if you look at the bigger picture, calls for a party of reason often pop up exactly when people feel the main parties are stuck, locked in fighting, not finding solutions.
When partisanship seems extreme.
Exactly. So given Musk's background in innovation, his stated views, what policies would this party likely push? You could imagine a huge emphasis on tech advancement, right?
For sure. AI, sustainable energy, maybe space exploration even.
Definitely plausible. Things he sees as crucial for the future. And based on his recent actions, you have to assume absolute free speech would be a bedrock principle.
Minimal censorship, open platforms.
Right. And maybe policies favoring entrepreneurs, deregulation in some areas to boost innovation, perhaps even rethinking education to focus heavily on STEM critical thinking.
It all fits his profile.
It does. But here's the big practical challenge, and something for you listening to really consider. How do you build a political platform around reason when politics is often so driven by emotion, identity, loyalty?
Can logic alone win elections?
That's the question. The very thing that makes it sound appealing, its focus on facts and logic, might be its biggest weakness in an environment where passion often beats pragmatism. It's a real paradox.
Okay, let's talk about the reality check here. The massive challenge any new party faces in the U.S.
It's a huge hurdle. Historically, it's incredibly tough.
Yeah, the track record for third parties. It's not great, is it? They struggle to get attention, and even more to actually last.
The two-party system is just so deeply rooted, it's like gravity pulling everything back towards the two poles.
You can even look back at someone like Ross Perot in the 90s.
Good example.
He was a billionaire businessman, captured a lot of attention, got almost 19% of the popular vote in '92, which is amazing for an independent.
Phenomenal, really.
But even with his money, his profile, that initial surge, he couldn't build a lasting political force. His movement kind of faded.
It didn't translate into long-term structure or success.
So why is it so hard? Why is the two-party system so resilient?
Well, there are systemic reasons. Our winner-take-all elections are a big one. Only the person with the most votes wins, so votes for a third party often feel wasted, or worse, like they help the candidate you like least.
Right, the spoiler effect fear.
Exactly. Then there's campaign finance laws, which tend to favor the established parties. And media coverage, the news, tends to focus almost entirely on Democrats and Republicans. Third parties get starved of oxygen.
So it's like the whole system is built to maintain the status quo.
In many ways, yes. It creates a very high barrier to entry, a political Everest, as you said earlier.
But, and this is the crucial but, Musk isn't just any third-party hopeful. He brings some unique things to the table, doesn't he? Things Perot didn't have.
That's absolutely the key point here. We can't just dismiss this based on history alone, because the Musk advantage, as some are calling it, is potentially very different.
Okay, what are those advantages?
Well, first there's his following. It's massive and seems incredibly loyal, not just fleeting popularity.
Especially with younger, tech-focused voters. People may be tired of traditional politics.
Exactly. They see him as an innovator, a doer, someone who disrupts things. That loyalty is different from just liking a candidate. It's almost like a belief in his vision.
Deeper than just popularity.
Potentially, yes. Second, his influence crosses so many major industries: Tesla, SpaceX, AIX. That gives him a much broader, more diverse potential base than someone coming from just one field or traditional politics. People who care about space or AI or electric cars might connect with him even if they wouldn't normally align politically.
Connects different groups.
Right. And third, maybe the biggest game changer, his control of X. That direct, unmediated communication line to hundreds of millions.
Bypassing the media, bypassing political operatives.
Completely. He can shape the narrative instantly, directly, in his own words. That could revolutionize campaigning. Perot had infomercials. Musk has a global, real-time platform.
So the really fascinating question becomes, are these modern tools, the tech celebrity, the cross-industry cloud, the direct communication finally enough? Can they actually crack that two-party dominance?
That's what we need to watch. It leads you, the listener, to think, do you believe these new forms of influence can overcome those deep structural barriers? Or are the barriers just too strong no matter who tries to break them down?
Let's pivot now to the ripple effects. If this party actually happens, what does it do to the current political map?
Analysts are definitely buzzing about this, and a lot of the immediate focus is on the Republican Party.
Right, the spoiler effect we mentioned.
Exactly. The common thinking is that a Musk party would primarily pull votes from conservatives. Maybe Republicans unhappy with the party's direction, or people drawn to his libertarian, tech-focused vibe, and if that happens. Well, simple math. If you split the conservative vote in close races, it makes it easier for the Democrat to win, even if they don't gain any new votes themselves.
Even a few percentage points could flip an election.
Absolutely. Imagine a swing district. A Republican might normally win 51-49. If Musk's party takes just 3-4% from the Republican, suddenly the Democrat wins 49-48 or 49-47. It's a huge concern for Republican strategists.
No doubt. But is it only Republicans who might be interested? Is that the only potential impact?
That's the crucial counter-argument, and it opens up a much wider possibility. Some strategists think Musk's appeal is actually much broader.
Broader than just conservatives?
Potentially, yes. They see his base, including libertarians, true centrists fed up with both sides, the tech and innovation crowd, maybe even some moderate Democrats who feel their party has gone too far left or isn't focused enough on, say, competitiveness or free speech.
The politically homeless voters.
Precisely. People across the spectrum who feel like neither major party really represents them. They might be united by wanting pragmatic solutions, rejecting rigid ideology, or just wanting something new and future-focused.
So if the party pulls from both sides,
then it's not just a spoiler for one party. It could genuinely reshape the entire electoral map. Could it create a powerful new center, force both parties to moderate?
or just fragment things even more, make it harder to govern?
That's the risk. But it definitely speaks to this deeper dissatisfaction lots of people feel with the current choices. A search for something beyond the old left-right divide. It really prompts you, the listener, to consider, who do you think would be most drawn to this kind of party? And why? Based on what you see out there.
And one of the biggest unanswered questions in all this, what about Musk himself? Would he actually run for president?
Or would he be more like a kingmaker, backing other candidates who fit his vision?
Right. He hasn't said he wants to run, has he?
Not explicitly confirmed any personal ambition, no, which leaves both options open. And they have very different implications.
Running himself gives direct leadership, sets the agenda, but also means facing the brutal reality of a campaign.
Intense scrutiny. Every tweet, every past action, under the microscope. It's grueling.
Whereas backing candidates lets him have a huge influence without being on the ballot himself. He could use his platform, his money.
Shape the party from behind the scenes, perhaps. Build a bench of leaders aligned with his views. Less personal risk, but maybe less direct control. It's a huge strategic choice. What seems clear, though, from everything we're seeing is that he genuinely seems serious about shaking things up. The motivation might be complicated, idealism, ego, a real belief his way is better, but the intent to disrupt seems real.
So does it become a real official party? Or maybe just a powerful way to pressure the existing system?
That's the big unknown, and both possibilities are significant. If it's mainly a pressure group, think about the leverage, just the threat of starting a party, of siphoning votes.
Could that force the existing parties, maybe especially Republicans, to adopt some of his ideas?
It's possible. Pushing them towards more tech innovation in government, stronger free speech stances, maybe different economic policies. It could be a way to influence policy without the massive effort of building a party nationwide.
Which brings us back to the fundamental question. What's the ultimate goal here? Is it power, influence, or genuine systemic change?
And understanding that motive is crucial because the impact is different. A new party changes the ballot, changes the choices you have as a voter.
While a pressure group works more indirectly, trying to shift the existing players.
Exactly. So for you, the listener, caring about whether it's a party or a pressure group matters because it affects how the political landscape might change and how you engage with it. Both can be powerful, but they work in very different ways.
So wrapping this up, what have we learned today? We've really dug into how unusual this move by Elon Musk is, moving from tech into potentially direct political disruption.
We've unpacked the reported split with Trump, focusing on those clashes over social media and party direction.
And we've looked hard at this party of reason idea, its potential appeal across the spectrum, but also the huge historical hurdles any third party faces.
Plus,
Musk's unique advantages.
right, it covers a lot of ground.
So what does this all mean? Where does it leave us?
Well, it leaves us with a really provocative thought, something for you to really chew on. Could those traditional boundaries between political parties be, well, less solid than we thought?
Especially now, with technology changing everything and individuals having so much direct influence.
Exactly. Are the old structures becoming brittle? Are we maybe on the verge of something new? We'd invite you to think about what kind of force you believe could genuinely shake up the system, and then consider if someone like Elon Musk, with all his unique power and resources, but also his controversies, is he really the one positioned to do it?
It's a huge question and definitely one worth thinking about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.
We hope it gave you some valuable insights into this really complex and fast-moving story.
Absolutely.